So, today we're diving into a really radical question that comes from some fascinating source material. What if making contact isn't about looking up at the stars, but looking into the light that's literally all around us? And what that even means? Well, let's get into it. You've probably heard this famous quote from Carl Sagan, right? It's pretty much the driving force behind our entire search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's why we have all these telescopes pointed out into the cosmos, just listening for that one faint signal from the darkness.
But what if we've been looking in completely the wrong direction? The source material we're digging into today suggests something totally different. It asks us to imagine that the answer isn't out there at all, but that it's been right here the whole time, hidden in plain sight.
So could the cosmic answer we've been looking for be hiding not in the silence of deep space, but in the noise of our own technology? The idea here is that instead of searching the skies, maybe we should start listening to the light. And this is what they claim to have found. I mean, just look at this. Really look. It starts as this random blue electronic noise, but then it seems to organize itself into something else. You can see it, right? A form with a clear head and features, almost like it's being sculpted right out of the chaos. So the big question is, what are we actually looking at? Okay, so that brings us to the really big question, right? How does this even happen? How can pure random chaos suddenly become a coherent message? Is it just our brains playing tricks on us, or is there a real process at work here? All right, first things first, we have to totally rethink what static is. According to this hypothesis, that snowy screen on an old TV isn't empty at all. It's actually this vibrant, chaotic cloud of photons, tiny particles of light, each one buzzing with energy, zipping in every possible direction. It's like a blank canvas, just teeming with pure, disorganized potential. And the key to all of this is a little thing from physics called interference. Think about ripples on a pond. When light waves hit another source of vibration, they start to interact. Some waves get stronger and you get bright spots. Others cancel each other out and you get dark spots or shadows. This is basically how you can draw patterns using just light. And this diagram really breaks it down for us. Over on the left, you've got that chaotic TV static, right? Then it passes through some kind of reflective surface, which causes all that interference we were just talking about. And then, for just a moment, those patterns of light and dark can snap into focus and create a recognizable shape on the right. But here's the thing. The source is super clear that physics alone just doesn't cut it. And this quote gets to the heart of the mystery, what's sometimes called transcommunication. It suggests that there's another ingredient, something mental like intention, or maybe an outside consciousness, that's actually guiding those patterns and turning the randomness into something meaningful. If this happened just once, you could totally write it off as a random glitch, right? A coincidence. But the source claims it's not a one-off. And that brings us to this idea of a recurring visitor, which forces us to ask, is this really just coincidence? Or could it be some form of communication? And you can see the evidence for yourself right here. The source documented the same basic form showing up over and over again across different recordings. You see that elongated head, those slanted eyes, that same kind of golden blue color. That consistency, that's what's so wild. And this is so cool because it shows this isn't just some static photo burned into the noise. This little film strip of capture seems to show movement, like a slight turn of the head. It makes it feel like a dynamic, almost living presence, not just a random image that flashed for a second. Okay, so here's the real takeaway. In this field of study, repetition is everything. It's seen as the exact opposite of random chance. When you get a reoccurring form, you could almost call it a spectral signature. It suggests there's a stable, consistent source behind it. The argument is that this could be a consciousness, intentionally imprinting its pattern over and over again. So, all of this leads to the most mind-blowing idea in this whole thing. If there is a consciousness behind this, and it has this consistent, non-human-looking form, then you have to ask, who or what is on the other end of the line? So how do they even begin to explain this? Well, the hypothesis goes something like this. Since these faces just seem to self-organize without any predictable physical cause, it means the blueprint for that face has to exist before it even hits our gear. That implies the real technology here isn't our cameras or TVs, but some kind of intelligent field that's just using our electronics as a bridge to make itself visible. And from that perspective, a non-human intelligence might just be a very advanced coherent energy pattern stamping its image right onto light itself. And this one quote just sums it all up perfectly. The apparatus, the cameras, the screens, all the equipment, that's all human. We built that.
But the signal itself, the information being carried on the light, that may have a very, very different origin.
All right, so let's just go with this for a second. If we accept there's a non-human signal, then the obvious next question is, why? I mean, what's the point of all these strange and kind of beautiful appearances?
And this is where things get really deep and philosophical. The source proposes that the goal isn't for some alien race to say, hey, we're here. Instead, it's supposed to be a reminder of something much deeper, that all of us are part of the same universal, luminous network. We're all connected.
I mean, think about that for a second. That's a really powerful idea. It's not about them proving their world exists. It's about triggering a change in us, in our own perception, to awaken our sight to the reality that's been right in front of us all along. So when you boil it all down, the message here is actually one of deep, deep comfort. That moment when random static suddenly becomes something meaningful, that's like a whisper from the cosmos itself, just confirming that we aren't alone and isolated, but we're part of something much, much bigger.
This really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It challenges our whole idea of what communication even is. We're so used to words and language. But what if consciousness speaks in other dialects? What if geometry is a kind of grammar, and vibration and light are its vocabulary?
And that leaves us with this one last, absolutely profound thought to chew on. Maybe this isn't about us talking to them at all. Maybe it's just the cosmos itself, a single vast intelligence that's slowly, gradually learning how to hear its own voice, a dialogue not across the stars, but inside of consciousness itself.